that's just the way. What's that you say? Isn't that the way?
Hello everybody and welcome to the Heatbangers podcast. I'm Matty and I'm joined tonight by Gordon and Neil. How are you guys? Gordon, how are you doing?
Oh, yeah, not bad. I'm doing away as usual. So not much more to say than that right now.
That's great. Yeah, we'll just wrap up there then. Thanks very much for
Thanks
tuning
very
in.
much. Cheers.
Neil, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I just doing away. Just glad that the bad weather seems to be over, but I think it's coming back tomorrow. I've never been impacted by that before until like this year. You know, just like dark all the time, and seems to be constantly wet. But clearing up, it's good. Even just like walking for a wee bit, like outdoors as opposed to indoors. But that's been feeling better today. It's weird.
Weather has been pish, eh?
It's been
I
grim.
know.
Bad.
Even the dog doesn't want to go out. Dougie opened the back door and he has a look and just goes, "Oh fuck this."
Mine's the same.
Aye, Hud's in the toilet and everything. You're like, come on, you're gonna have to go out. You have to force him out. I have to stand out. So like he'll bark in the middle of the night, like 3, 4 in the morning, if he's been hudding it in. So I have to go doing him like my shorts, put a jacket on, stand out in the rain in the back garden with him for him to go into the toilet.
Mental. Trying to get back to sleep after that.
Aye, why'd you do these things? Like obviously it's better than I'm shitting in the living room, I suppose, but still.
Is it?
Is it? Did you see the thing on the news today about the Champions League? ISIS had put a kill-all threat on the 4 Champions League games that are happening this week.
Seen something? They've no like, away fans in or something. Is that right?
Well, there's none. We've got the Arsenal game on. There's no away fans in there.
Was that because of that, or was that just coincidental?
I don't know. Because they said the games were going ahead, and just with heightened security. But would it put you off going? So if you had a ticket the night, right, for one of the games, and then you see that on the news, would it influence your decision as to whether or not to go to the game?
I think I would still go if you're allowed to get in it. You know, if they're like saying if you're a away fan and you're not allowed in, then fair enough then. But that would be like a very Hibs thing, like final of the Champions League and we can't go.
Can you imagine?
I know, but I think because then this whole thing where you let them win. Do you know what I mean? If you like sort of not getting too political with that, but you need to sort of live your life. Do you know? Because there's nothing to say, nothing to stop anything happening, like a terrorist attack anywhere else. Do you know what I mean?
I think it depends. Like if I was taking the kids or something like that,
I
think I would be more inclined to think twice about it. But I'm completely joking when I say this. But if it was at Easter Road, I'd be quite tempted to definitely go, so that I might get put in my misery halfway through the game.
Aye.
I clear again. I'm completely joking. That's the something to joke about. But
I likened I'd written my Hibs Observer article just before we came on to record this, and I likened Hibs this season like to have these false dawns of positivity, only for it to turn out being rubbish, as being like running into one of those tunnels that the road Wile E. Coyote had painted on the side of a mountain to bam up the roadrunner. That's what it's like being a Hibs fan. It's like I can't tell you how grumpy I was this weekend after you know that we're going to spend anything talking about it, but Ken, we were talking about our moods and everything like that. Proper days to shift the mood after that.
Can you switch off though for stuff like I know it's not just like football and that, but if there's things that are impacting like your mood, like I feel really detached for the news nowadays, I feel bad and that's like work briefly. And then because it's quite horrific, and even with like Hibs and that, I can just like if I'm not going to a game, I just switch off and I feel like so much better for it. Just to like channel my effort and energy into something else for a couple of hours, and then just come back on. And it's the same, you know, like the news and that. Just I feel ignorant is bliss, which I suppose is wrong, but
sometimes, but I think there's a part of me, and I don't know if this is like a common thing with people. There's a part of me that I think quite likes wallowing in it a wee bit. Can you quite like having that, letting it linger maybe a little longer than it needs to? Because there's definitely times where I've been in a bad mood with something and then just decided I'm not going to be in a bad mood about that anymore. Like we watched this thing when I worked for HSBC. We got taken in to watch this training video. It was about Seattle Fish Market. I don't know if you've ever seen it before. Right?
Mm.
It kind of did the rounds in corporate circles, I think.
Well, they did. Last sleep.
And what it was is these guys that work in the Seattle fish market, it fucking stinks, right? So they have to get up at the crack of dawn. They
Smell it
work.
through the video, like.
Well, they tell you how bad it smells. Right,
Right.
but you imagine it's a fish market, right? It's not going to smell like, air freshener, is it? Because you'll have my fish. So you've got these guys there, they're working in freezing cold conditions, right? Seattle's no a warm place, definitely no warm down where they've got the fish in the ice, and they absolutely love it. Like they live their best life, and they've got this culture where basically what they do is when you come in, you say, right, you've got a choice. You're choosing to work here. Make the most of it. Choose your attitude. Right. This is like the theme of the video is you choose your attitude, and you can pick how you respond to things like that. That's a choice you make.
Mhm.
And it always resonated with me. It was like I quite like the idea of that, but if you put it to the test, it's not always easy, right? Sometimes you've got, well, we know now, like medically, you can't just choose like I'm not going to be depressed, right? And then look at that, I'm not depressed anymore. Like it doesn't work like
Mhm.
that. But to an extent, you can choose how you respond to things. Like I didn't have to let Hibs ruin my weekend. You know what I mean? They get beat. I could go and say, right, I'll just cheer up. Like I'm not that bothered about it in the end, and focus on something positive. But I think sometimes having, I don't know, it's like a perverse thing. Like having that wee negative mood linger a little bit longer means when it's
Mhm.
good at the other side, it feels a bit better. I don't know. How about you, Gordon?
So different times in my life, the answer to that would be different. I think I haven't talked about this before, but as you get older and you become, well, you're supposed to become more wiser. You start learning sort of behavioural things, and teaching yourself how to respond or not to respond to certain things. Well, I certainly have.
Mhm.
I suppose that's not the same for everybody, but when you do quite a lot of, well, we do a lot of therapy, but you do some therapy, or you start looking at why you feel a certain way, or whatever. And there's stuff that I'll talk about in a future episode when we get more into it. But there's a load of stuff that I've done to sort of train myself to respond to certain circumstances and people's behaviours.
Mhm.
Because that thing you were talking about there, like the corporate sort of side of stuff, and I've had bosses, excuse me, bosses. I still have bosses and people that I work with that are very much that. Oh, I know it's rubbish, but like it's how we react to it, and it's up to you. You make the most of what you've been given in that. It's like, aye, but when there's tons of external influences
Mhm.
and other people that aren't of that or of the same frame of mind as you or on the same path as you, especially in workplaces, it's very difficult to always do that, right? Like, there's only so far that's going to get you if you're up against a wall. So it is difficult. I think there's different circumstances, different environments where that rings truer than others. But you're right. Like it's all about it's like a level of tolerance, right? I think
Mhm.
some people can do that better than others. I used to get again. Someone talked to. I used to get so annoyed and influenced by political news or goings ons. Goings ons, is that right?
Aye, say that.
Aye, you know what I mean.
Mhm.
And like I spent a lot of time just being obsessed with it, and like, why the fuck is this happening like this, and why is this happening like this, and why is this party doing this, and like the injustices of it all, and to the point where it was like affecting my life like quite badly, like in a really negative way. Because let's be honest, politics the last 10, 15 years has been absolutely diabolical.
That's right.
Aye, that's the other way of putting it. And yeah, it was affecting my family life and the way people were viewing me because it was all kind of went on about, and I was always annoyed about something. I suppose that's similar to like football teams and whatever else that kind of annoys you. And I just like you kind of have to have that realization, and then again train yourself to go right. either it's I just stop looking at the news, or I stop going to the football games, or whatever. You probably could like go as far as say like things like gambling and drinking or whatever. When you get to a point where you realise that it's affecting you in a negative way, you have to take action, and that's the same for anything. It's like breaking those smaller things down and saying that this is impacting me in a negative way. Is there something that I can do to stop it impacting me in that negative way? And that's what I've been trying to do. I know I didn't always succeed, but I definitely, as I've got older, and I highly recommend anybody to try behavioural therapy if it's available to them, and anything else that can help you sort of understand what it is that gets to you. That's a really long-winded answer, but I thought it was important to articulate my answer in that way because, again, depending on if you asked me this 15 years ago, my answer would have been completely different. What about you, Neil?
I don't know. I think it's definitely that older and wiser type thing. Switching off of stuff and that. I think it'll come. For me, it was like I'd worry about loads of stuff, like obsessively worry. I had a worry time app, which was really good. But then I remember like, because also I don't mention it before, but the concept is it's like an app where you get like a post-it note. You write down a worry that happens, and then you had a set time every day. You would open your worries. So the sort of thing behind it was you'd have something to worry about. You'd put it away. By the time you came to reflect on that, it was no longer a worry. Do you know what I mean? And you would just like crunch it up on the screen and throw it away. And I remember like having like no worries at one point, and I was worried because I had no worries. And I thought, nah, it's not really good. I was like, nah, what's going on? But I just like, from then on, it's just like trying not to like worry about the stuff that you need to worry about, but then like breaking it down, like if like being like rational about it. What is the worry about it? What's the perception? What's the outcome that you think is going to happen for something? But I definitely feel that ability just to switch off. Like the older you get, then it's like you realise that like there's things more important in life than like football or stuff. You know, but I do think it's true what my as well. The whole, like negative. Sometimes you like to wallow in it, and for me, sometimes I definitely like to cut off my nose to spite my face. Do you ever argue with like companies and stuff like that? And you're like, I've taken this like further than what I should have taken it. I've like invested far too much time emailing folk about it, but I'm still want to do it. I've actually got a couple just now, but LRT and ScotRail, and I thought I was actually thinking before I came on here, I'm achieving nothing, even if I do get what I want, which is like a refund. Yeah. I've just learned my lesson the next time not to do what I did. Do you know what I mean? But you're sort of like you're determined. It's like I don't know if it's like late life rebellion. I don't know. I think I've definitely always had that in me. I think when you just like cut off my nose to spite my face and argue sometimes for the sake of arguing, thinking it's like the man is doing me wrong type thing. I don't know. Stick it to the man. Bye.
Should though.
More people should stick it to the man.
Aye.
There is a thing there though, is like how much do you value your time enough? Like if you're going, I mean, I think how much you're chasing a refund for, right? But if it's taking you an hour and a half, 2 hours out of your life to try and chase it, right?
For £2.50.
For £2.50, you'd probably go, it's not worth it, eh? Like I would write that off, I think, and just go, I value my time more than I value the £2.50. Yeah, picking your battles. I had a thing you're talking there, Neil, about getting older and wiser and things like that, right? I'll not say the situation that I was in, just to kind of keep things anonymous and that, right? It was on a Zoom call, the back end of last week, and it was with people I hadn't met before, and they did this sort of like breakout thing, so you had to go and introduce yourself to the other folk that were in the breakout room, and sort of chatting, said like, I'm Matty and did this and I did that, and there were a couple of folk went, and this boy starts talking. He says, ex-army. He says, but I've not been in the army since the 80s. So the Cold War was still going on. But you'll probably not remember that. Well, you might, Matthew. He says. I was like, oh, aye. And I was like, I'm not that fucking old, am I? And it was like, I didn't complain or kind of, let on. I was like, technically, I do remember the Cold War because, like, Spitting Image was on with Gorbachev and that when I was wee, and I can mind like the Perestroika and
Yeah.
Glasnost, all this kind of stuff that
Well,
happened. But I was a bairn, like a wee bairn at that, and I was like, fuck. And then I was in a lift, and a couple of folk got on it, and they were a guy was chatting the woman that he was with about her age, telling her she was ancient and that, and she says I'm like 37. I go, fuck no, like I'm literally in the lift where you're obviously older than 37, eh? Like there's just the like I felt kind of invisible, kind of old folk talk about being feeling invisible, and I kind of know old, right? So still the right side of 50, right? Only just the wrong side of the bang in the middle of 40.
yeah.
In the 40s, I almost went into David Brent there. Ken, he says 30s, yeah, in my 30s. I'm still mid 40s. But you have that realization that like stuff isn't for you anymore. Like
Mhm.
music's not for you anymore. Like the music that comes out, it's not aimed at you. It's aimed at teenagers and young folk and films that come out and all this kind of thing. And you're like, fucking hell. And then we're in a position like my son's already moved out. Right? He's at uni. My daughter's about to move out. So then you have like the empty nest thing coming up,
Mm.
and that doesn't have to make you feel old as well. It's like a weird thing. I've never really been that bothered about my age. I think when I hit 30, and that was like the first time I was like, oh fuck, can you realise you're never going to live your 20s again, which are probably your best, well, your best young years, because I know they say that you actually have like a good time. Sort of at the time of your life that I'm probably about to hit, where you don't have the kids and that to look after anymore. That's meant to be quite a good period, but your 20s when you can then and you could run for a bus
Mm.
and no feel like you need another lung, or can climb 3 flights of stairs in a row and no be needing a seat immediately after it. But the now, I think, like it just totally hit me. Like that conversation, it was just a throwaway comment. It kind of boy didn't mean anything by it, but don't know. It played on my mind for ages after it.
How have you felt? Do you still linger about that then? Like you still thinking about it? Like,
Aye,
aye,
like enough that I wanted to bring it up. And it's funny because so also like I'm quite lucky that I can see the funny side in things, right? So for me, it's like a funny story that I can tell. Although
aye,
there's a bit of me that was kind of like a bit put out and hurt by it. It is still like a funny story. So I went and like I kind of told somebody else, and they were like, when we were with other people, were like, "Oh, Matty, tell them your story." And do you know, like it didn't bother me enough that I wanted to just pretend it never happened, and I can see the funny side of it, but. It definitely was like, fucking hell, that's me, bastard.
uh-huh. But there's
I'm not
maybe enough.
arguing.
Do you know what I mean?
I'll just let you two hold you and
Aye.
take this one. Right? I'll just step back.
What about you, Neil, do you ever get to that? And the reason I asked that is that you're, I think, ever so slightly older than me, right? Although folk watching will probably think it's the other way around, right? Do you ever have those conversations or those thoughts?
Like now and again, aye. Definitely the sort of like older and that you get. I think there's just moments and stuff where it hits you, but I think for me it's the like when you're going to like birthday part, like older, like 50s. Like I was in my mate's 50th recently, and it was a good laugh and stuff. And I remember it doesn't seem like yesterday we were going to like 18th and 21st. Obviously, we were that age, we were only just creepy and hanging about 18-year-old. But it just seems to be, and it is that thing as well, though. But like, I think the older you get, you tend to have like a bigger, or like you'll have like friends, or like over the years, the older you get, the more people you know. Do you know what I mean? Like through work, through family and stuff like that. And it just seems to be every other day there's a story where something tragic's happened to somebody. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? This has happened, and like they just like passed away suddenly, and you're like, and it's just like how you just sort of realize it, like how fickle it is. Do you know what I mean? Like we could have a whole like 24-hour podcast episode about just stuff that we've heard. Do you know what I mean? Like stories and stuff like that. But yeah, and it's just over in an instant. I think you definitely realise that the older that you get, and it is going back to like the time, how much time that we've got, and value it, and then making the most of the time we've got, because we'll have a long time where we've not got that time. But nah, definitely, I've felt it more. I find myself like over the last like couple of weeks, maybe just staring into space now and again, thinking like this'll all be gone. Do you know what I mean? For me, for you guys as well, for like our family and friends and that, and it's just like it's just mad, eh? Do you know what I mean? And then what happens after it? Like, what is there after it? It's just a bit pickles my head at like 3 in the morning sometimes.
Jesus fucking Christ, Neil.
True
You're
though,
right
innit?
though. It is true. Like I spent a lot of time trying to normalize death
Mhm.
when I started all the like meditation and stuff like that, because it's quite like the mindfulness stuff. There's quite a lot of that
Yep.
involved in it, and I think to a certain extent I have a lot more I did because I was like just when I was younger I was just paranoid about dying fucking all the
Mhm.
time, like for being like 16-year-old and thinking about oh fucking hell what happens when like I'm going to die and stuff like that. I'd really crippled myself with fear with it. But and I think I'd so I deliberately went into that to go right. I need to like kind of normalize this to a certain extent, and I definitely have different story when it's your loved ones and stuff like that. Though I think
Mhm.
that's still that will always be like my biggest fear. But the whole like age thing, I don't know if it's so you're saying Matty there about like oh like your 20s and that it's like your best years and stuff like that. I think like I'm no I wouldn't be fussy if I going back to it. Like, see someone give me the option.
No, I don't think I'd like to feel like I felt then. Do you know,
Mhm.
like physically,
Mm,
mentally, and do you know, like the. So I could give you a good example of the difference. With it, is it 2021? Honestly, if anything was possible, do you know, like I'd no barriers. Like I just like if I wanted to go do something, I could do it. Like there wasn't any real doubt in my mind to think that's no for me or that I'll not be able to achieve that. I just thought I could do that. Do you know, it didn't really matter. I was never phased by anything. Really confident, like all these things. And I think where I noticed the difference between like whether it's my perception of myself or how other people perceive you when you're 46, right, which is what I am just now, is when I was looking for jobs at the start of the year and
mm,
not getting
Mhm.
anywhere with it. And I was like, goodness, but like great experience and good, a history, good jobs and everything. And you're like, well, what is it that's different? And
Mhm.
then you kind of you go and you look in office environments and it's kind of young folk getting jobs and no the older folk. And
Mhm.
you know, it might not be that. It might kind of there's legislation and everything to say that they can't discriminate on age, and but it's very hard to prove.
yeah.
You know, if you've not got a job, and there
Mhm.
was things like you'd have to do a video call, like record a video uh, of yourself to say what you were all about as part of an application process. And so you do that, and you can your CV matches all the skills, your experience matches it. What you've said is in line with what's in the advert for the job and everything, and you get a, yeah, we're not taking it further, and you're like, fuck you, like, and it's I
Mhm.
kind of like kind of got the white hair and everything like that, and it's you didn't even think about that as an issue when you're in your 20s, and you just kind of go, anything's possible for you, anything's on the plate, and folk look at you as up and coming and vibrant and potential. That's what folk see in young people. Folk didn't look at me and go, "Well, this boy's got potential."
Mhm.
Do you know, it's like, like
Potential around war. That's
aye,
it.
that's it. Kind of, I mean, and I still have plenty of working years and then all the rest of it. You know, I'll stay at a company as long as a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old will stay at a company the way that folk move about now. So. Aye, it's that difference, Gordon. That is it's not necessarily that life was better, then, but how I felt about myself and about the world around me was different in my 20s than it is now.
Mhm.
That makes sense. That's what like the physical side is a big thing with it, right?
Hmm.
And kind of like I'm 37 now, but I'm still I think that like I could still play five-a-sides and be all right. I'm on the bike most days. I do weights and stuff like that. I keep myself in decent shape, and I feel all right. But I can definitely, like, my knees are sorer than they were before. I wake up like a bit more achy. You can start seeing, like, my eyesight's fucking gone to shit and all. I stare at computers all day, which doesn't help either. So that there's definite things that I'm just like, oh, I can see I'm at the top of the hill here. I think I'm all right now, but I'm about to start going down at the other end. But like, I don't know. I suppose, like, again, it's that thing that comes with experience of wisdom. You just didn't do things that you would before, because you're just aware that you can't do them. And that's obviously not the case for everybody. Like, a lot of things do happen to people as you get older, and that's just the fact of life, right? Our bodies start breaking down as we get older. But like, you look at, like, I seen in the news the day about Jackie Chan turning 70,
Aye.
and like there was a whole thing about people are worried about him because there was a recent I don't know what he was at, but it was like a picture of him, and they were like, oh my god, he looks like really ill. The guy's like 70, and he's the stuff that boy's put his body through is absolutely unbelievable. And it wasn't even that long ago he was still in films, and he's like the Karate Kid remake and all the rest of it, and he's like still like kicking guys in the face and they bother. Like, he like, and then, like, what was the other thing was Mick Jagger. There was a thing on social media, and it was him. And what's he, like, 75?
He must
Something like that.
I think Jagger's older than that.
Yeah, maybe like nearly 80 or something.
And he's Paul McCartney and that, they're all.
It's unbelievable. Like, there's a lot to be said for taking loads of drugs, eh? Like, I don't
or being multi-millionaires.
Well, that probably helps as well. But like, there was a video of him, and he was in like a sort of one of like dance studios, like where like all the mirrors and everything, and he just basically playing music, and he obviously must practice like all his dancing. That is the worst dancing of anybody in the entire world, but he obviously practiced it. I don't know why he practiced it, but he's just like cutting about, all this. And I was like, I would be knackered. I wouldn't be knackered, but I'd feel probably more knackered than he looks doing that at 80-year-old. So I think there's again, everybody's a bit different, but I think a lot of it, it's physical, but I think it's mental, massively.
That definitely is.
If you push yourself and you just realise that, no, I can still do these things, and I just need to maybe slow down a wee bit and not go too hard and pace myself, then you can go for like many, many years and still be in fine fettle.
I can still do stuff. Like, I'm no, like I'm not an invalid or anything. This is the point I was. The point I was trying to make was is that other people's perception of you. So I think that's what I was more aware of there, is how you're perceived and treated. And I think it doesn't help that I look older than I am as well, because of like the hair and that. Like,
were you ginger when you?
No.
You know?
No.
Your lad is ginger though, so I thought you were.
My hair was like your colour.
Oh really?
Aye.
So kind of like ginger people's hair goes like white when they're like in their 30s.
So I was in my 30s when I started going white, which was maybe like a wee bit later than it could have been, because I think my old man was white in his 20s when it started happening to him. And I had it coming, like, because we used to call him Freddie Boswell and Ken Frank Jetman and all these things, just because Kim, when you're wee, you make fun of old people. Well, like, this is exactly the point I'm making. It is what goes around comes around. So I kind of like I got used to having white hair early on. Like, I kind of was coming and but folk definitely treat you like a wee bit different, and it is like the wee comments and that folk will make, and I think it's different if you're a guy as well, because you're expected just to let that bounce off you. As a guy, when somebody will like will comment on my weight or my hair or whatever, and you just have to let it bounce off you, because guys we're not allowed to be like sensitive to these things.
But I suppose that's the point I was making, like, that people need to realise that isn't the case, right? And I think for people, if they stop and think about it, they should know that, right? And they do.
Yeah.
But there is that sort of perception. But I think I lead into it because I think, I mean, I've seen a couple of pictures of you guys when you're younger and that. I think you're like much more handsome now than you were then, and I know I'm more handsome than I was back in I've we like men tend to, and I that's one thing
There is
I'm
that.
trying to say this, it doesn't sound misogynistic in any way whatsoever because it's not meant that way, but I think there is that general men, and I think women would agree with this, men age better than women do, looks wise. And Nannies are even wanting to respond because you're like, just you keep fucking digging your hole. But I think that you've got like George Clooney and all the rest of it. It's the stereotypical, right? Like he's got better looking as he gets older. And I think there's a definite certain element to that with men, and I like to look into that. Right, it makes you feel, at the very least, it makes you feel better.
Aye.
And I think that there is that. Again, you get that wisdom. You know how to take care. So you need to, you know your hair better than you did before. You know how to shave your beard better because you've done it for so many years, and you dress like you know what clothes fit you better than you did when you were 21 or whatever, and your body was still changing or whatever. So I think there's I'm just again trying to put a positive spin on getting old. But
if the thing is, you can't duck it, can you? You know, like it happens. Like there's nobody's immune to it. Like, you know, unless you're Benjamin Button, kind of that film where he went backwards. Right, nobody's wanting to do that either. So it sounds like a daft thing to be self-conscious about, because it's inevitable, and we all age at the same rate as well. Like we'll all wake up tomorrow a day older than we were today. So it seems like a weird thing to get self-conscious about. But definitely, like, I don't know if it's because 50's on the horizon. Maybe is that like it's no, like 50 seemed like a lifetime away. When you're in your 20s, you didn't think 50 has been an age that is going to creep up on you, and it fucking does. Like I'm like looking at it now, going, it's not that far away. That's my next milestone birthday. Is 50. Fuck's sake. Mental.
Do you think there's maybe like in some cases an underlying sense of like maybe like the older that you get, there's a realization that you've maybe not achieved what you wanted to, or you could have done more. Do you know what I mean? And it's like the older you get, the less likely it is to like play for Hibs, but maybe not actually. Or do you know what I mean? That like we'll be starting on Saturday. Or you know, the older you get, you're thinking, I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd like, you know what I mean? And I'm not actually going to do that. I think I've definitely felt a wee bit of that as well, like a wee bit regretful, like regretting stuff that I've not done type thing. The older that I get, and there's like less time for me to do it.
Aye, there's definitely that. Aye, there's that side that I don't know. I think it's like a really complex thing to be bothered about, because there's so many facets to it. Like it's like you say there, is like you have that. So maybe it's like a sort of mini midlife crisis. Maybe this is the thing. Can be looking, go, oh my god, like you said, I've not achieved what I want to achieve, or like all my best years are behind me and all the rest of it. But I actually think so. We were watching a thing at work the other day, and they were saying that like half of kids born now will live beyond 100. It's like the increase in life expectancy, right? So I think our life expectancy for folk in our age. So Gordon, you'll live a little bit longer than relatively than Neil and I will, but I think we can expect to live on average like into our 80s. And that's
no met my wife and kids. There's no chance that's happening.
So Gordon, you might be in your 90s, so like that might be the average for your age. Is that life expectancy as science gets better, as people's diets and health gets better, and all the rest of it. So life expectancy increases. And there was a thing that said, like, you know, it used to like life begins at 40. Well, the top of that is like 50 and 60 now as being like the age where it's no old. So maybe it's just as that shift in thinking. Maybe you don't have to think about, fucking hell, I'm 40 and I'm not 40 anymore, right? But when I was 40, that's like a sort of pivotal moment. You maybe be like, I'm looking forward to hitting 50 because that's meant to be like a really good time in your life. You have financial freedom, you have freedom for your kids, Your work should be in a decent place. Should still be relatively healthy. You know, your body's no deteriorated to the point where you can't do stuff by the time you're 50. So then you can start enjoying better holidays, going to the pub more often, going to spending more time on the things that you really, really enjoy doing. Maybe I just need to start looking at that and go, fuck what everybody else thinks. I'm going to have a good time.
Nah.
That's the way I look at it. Like my oldest two much more independent. My weakest one's now 11. He's becoming more independent, and it was like your initial thought is to think, oh no, I've not got any wee kids anymore, and oh, they're all growing up too fast. And then I just instantly stopped and went, I'm getting fucking time back here.
Aye.
I can actually start doing the stuff that I did before, because kind of floated the idea about having another kid or something like that. Like, no, fuck it. I mean, I love my kids and I love having kids, and genuinely, if age and money wasn't an issue, I would just keep having them. But like that, if you look at it, like as you were just saying, Matty, I'm getting like my life back in a different way. Like no, I never had a life, but you're getting parts of your life back that were gone. I was listening to it was a podcast, the armchair expert Dax Shepard. You know, it's like one of the biggest podcasts in the world, but he was interviewing John Cena, and John Cena's like never had kids, but he's so great with kids and kids love him. And he was saying that having kids is like the biggest investment in your life. Like it takes up like about 90% of your life having kids, and it's no for everybody. But everybody's like, well, you should have less. I mean, in life, you should like reproduce and have kids and everything. It's like it's no for everybody. And then when he broke it down like that about being an investment, I was like, oh, yeah, fucking, that does make sense, right? Like you're investing into your family and everything like that, and it takes up so much of your life. And it's quite nice, I suppose, in a way that it gets to a point where obviously I'm no like I get to a certain age and they're like, I'm having nothing to do with you, fuck off. But like I didn't have to play with the wee man every fucking night for hours on end and get him in the shower, and he can do that himself now, and he can get dressed and do his teeth and all the rest of it. Like all the wee things kind of add up. So I've been like that mindset, just that positivity. Like I've started playing the guitar a bit more again, which I haven't been able to do for years because he stayed up a bit later because he was in his bed and I couldn't play it because it was too loud. Just all the wee things, just try to find those positives. I was going to ask is saying about like living longer. Do you think there's like a cut-off point though, right, that you just didn't want to get to? Because that's a wee bit morbid, but I'd fucking hate to be like in my 80s or like coming to 90 and like sitting pissing myself or whatever it is that would happen. Can your body just broken down that much? You can't get up at your seat. It kind of like the idea, because it was just the way you were saying it in that video and everything, was like the idea of like, great, people are living longer, fucking fantastic. Because like, but is it?
But is it if life at that age is shit? Is it kind of?
Aye.
I don't know. I mean, that's Mick Jagger. Do you know, like 80? I think he's he's ready to knock it on the head. I don't know.
Again, I suppose it depends who you are and what state you're in, right?
I would suppose if you saved up and you had like a comfy life, and I mean, you could live somewhere hot just to spend your days not being able to move, but you could be on like a nice beach somewhere in the Caribbean and just with a cocktail and the waves lapping at your feet. Like that wouldn't be too bad.
Aye.
Or more likely, you'd be fucking trudging out Easter Road on a Saturday afternoon, moaning it's still being shite.
No. We should say for completeness, there is other football teams available.
Yeah, of course there are. They're just not quite as bad.
Didn't pick Hibs, aye. Just if you're picking one, didn't pick them.
Right, I think with that note, it would be a good time to wrap up. Please do keep in touch with us. We're at HeatBangersPod on Twitter. So look out for us there. You'll find the podcast. Well, in fact, if you're listening, you found it already. But we're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the main ones. So please do tell people about it, and they can go and find us. Thanks for tuning in, Gordon and Neil. It's been a pleasure talking to you as always, and we shall see you all again soon.
Isn't that just the way? What's that you say?